Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs and welcome to Christmas in July. Yes, I am one of those YouTube creators that loves Christmas and July. I am always happy to create Christmas decor. This very cute gingerbread themed sign will be embellishing the front of a big, beautiful gingerbread themed Christmas tree I will be creating for the Quantum House this coming Christmas. This could as well be used for a wreath. It could be used as a door hanger or even just a sign in a gingerbread themed kitchen. This one has lots and lots of very cute detail, and it was so much fun to create. Welcome to all to my channel today, and I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel if you are not currently. And I hope you will share my channel and my decor ideas with others in your life. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the tutorial content. And as always, leave me your comments and any questions you may have. Okay, let me show you how I created this so adorable Christmas gingerbread theme sign, if I could speak. This one is a long one today, this tutorial. There is a lot of detail, and I did not skimp on detailed instructions, so feel free to forward over any areas you prefer in this tutorial. All right, let's look at the items that you will need to create this piece. This is a gingerbread wood cutout that I purchased on Amazon. Now they have a number of different types and shapes of cutouts on Amazon. So I'm going to urge you to just put in a search for wood gingerbread craft cutouts and choose the one that you like the best. Mine is 9 inches tall and 7 inches wide and about 1/8 of an inch thick. It's a very, very nice quality piece, nice thickness, and I believe it's made of that MDF wood that Dollar Tree uses so much of. But I really liked it. I was very pleased with the wood gingerbreads. Okay, now I have this wood round. It has the edging on it, as you can see there. This one is, see how thick it is? I want to say maybe less than 1/2 inch. And this one is 14 inches. I have here 4 little wood cubes that I'm going to use to raise my gingerbread up off of the board, just to give it a little bit of dimension. You could also use Jenga blocks or even wood beads, doesn't matter. It's just for the purpose of, creating a little dimension and a little depth. Okay, so I am going to be painting the sides and the back with Snow White Waverly chalk paint. You could paint it with acrylic or anything that you like. I'm going to be covering the inner area of that wood sign with scrapbook paper. Now, I went on Amazon because I was not able to find any gingerbread theme scrapbook paper anywhere. So I decided to do a search on Amazon. I put in a search for gingerbread scrapbook papers 12 inch by 12 inch. And they had a few different choices. So if you're interested in that, I suggest you go on Amazon. They do have some to choose from. Now, this particular packet was really cute. I had a hard time deciding which one I was going to use. They're all in the gingerbread theme. Every one of them is just perfect for this project. So I really deliberated which one I was going to use, and I'll show you, of course, which one I ended up using. But the polka dots, oh yeah, always great. Always great for anything gingerbread. This was another cute one. Polka dots with, looks kind of like snowflakes, but they had polka dots. Look at that one. That one is super cute. So you see what I'm saying? And they have they're printed on both sides, which is not, is unlike anything you could get at Hobby Lobby. But I ended up choosing not this one, however. I thought about that one. I'm sure you've already taken note of which one I actually did choose when you saw the intro. But I chose one that has squiggle lines and little red dots, and I haven't shown it to you just yet, but I will. I have there a piece of red scrapbook paper. I believe this one came from Joann's. I stocked up before they went out of business. But it's got little tiny little raised polka dots, and that is going to be used for the banner. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but that gingerbread girl there is holding a garland, a greenery garland that says joy. Now, like I said, this piece is detailed. In capital letters, it is detailed. And I'm sure you could probably thought, wow, this is a long video. But like I said, I'm going to show you everything. If you're a novice crafter or all the way up to experienced and you just want to see how I created everything on this piece, I'm going to tell you how I did it and show you. All right, I'm going to be using two different red polka dot fabrics. One has a very teeny tiny little polka dot. That's going to be for the bodice of the dress. And then the other piece with the larger polka dots, that's for the skirt of the dress. I have here my container of little tiny buttons. These are so awesome for anything gingerbread. And I'm definitely going to be using those. I also have my container of these heart buttons, which I also love for anything gingerbread. Now, I believe I had gotten those on Temu. My fabric, by the way, that was Hobby Lobby. But, you know, Walmart has a lot of polka dot fabrics, so you probably as well could pick it up there. That little wire garland that I have in my hand there, I got that in the Christmas department at Hobby Lobby last year. Now, I know they're putting out all of their Christmas decor now, so possibly if you don't have anything like that, you could probably pick it up at Hobby Lobby now. I noticed they had all the ribbons in last time I was there this past week. Okay, so from the sticker and stamp aisle at Hobby Lobby, I picked up these letters. They're a white, kind of a foamy material, and they're shimmery, very good for anything Christmas. And I'm going to be spelling out the word joy on the gingerbread's garland. And this just turns out so cute. Now, as well, if you had a Cricut, you could create your own letters. I also have my favorite letters here. Thought about using. Those are the Ray Dunn font letters that I always pick up on Amazon. It's not difficult to find sticker letters anywhere, or you could hand paint it, your choice. But that scrapbook paper there, again, that's going to be used to create the little triangular pieces that the letters are going to go on, that's going to go on that greenery garland. You're going to need a needle and thread. I just used red thread. You're going to be gathering the skirt by hand, as well as a little piece of tulle, which I didn't show you there, but I ended up after this intro deciding I was going to put a little bit of a tulle skirt underneath the regular polka dot skirt. And oh boy, it turns out really, really cute. I have here some flowery, kind of a heavy lace. I had gotten that at Walmart. They always have spools of different types of lace like that. So you may be able to pick that up there. You could also use rickrack. Now, I wait for every other week when all those trims and ribbons are on sale at Hobby Lobby. But that's a very tiny rickrack, awesome for anything gingerbread. And I do actually use that on the bodice of the gingerbread girl's dress. That is, if I could speak, that is a red rickrack. That is going to be going around the perimeter, on the outside perimeter of my sign. And oh, it is just the greatest finishing touch. I have there a little narrow ribbon, a gingerbread ribbon, and I do make a couple of little bows that goes on each end of the garland. That's another option there. Any type of narrow ribbon. This is the red satin cord that I love so much. Now, you might be able to get that in the Christmas decor aisle at Hobby Lobby now, but if not, it's in the ribbon and trim section in the fabric department. Again, at Hobby Lobby. My favorite Christmas ribbon that Hobby Lobby has, it's two-sided, striped on one side, polka dot on the other. That you would find in the Christmas department. Now, this RG ribbon, this is from craftoutlet.com. It's a 1.5-inch wired ribbon. I'm placing two small bows on this piece. Now, later on, you're going to see that I added a red wired ribbon as well, 1.5 inch, that I had purchased. I believe I had gotten that on clearance at Joann Fabrics, but I'm sure you could pick that up as well in the Christmas department at Hobby Lobby. Using all the regular crafting tools, you'll need a pencil, 26 gauge wires, some tacky glue, of course, hot glue. Now, I have some other embellishments that I had on hand. I wasn't sure if I was going to use it or not, but I just love holly leaves and holly berries as embellishments. So I just, put those off to the side, not really knowing for sure at the onset whether I was going to use it. Now, I pointed to that scrapbook paper, but I actually used another one. I'm going to show it to you. Now, see how nicely this gingerbread fits in this 14-inch wood round. Now, those wood rounds come in a package. There's 3 different sizes in a package. I would wait for the every other week 40% off at Hobby Lobby to pick those up. I always pick up things on sale where I can. Okay, now I took apart a Christmas pick. This was from Hobby Lobby last year. Possibly they might have all that in by now. I haven't been in like about 7 days. That's a record for me. I'm usually there a couple of times a week. But I just gathered together a bunch of greenery. I had some holly berries there, which I didn't end up using. But my gingerbread is going to be, I guess you could say, standing in some Christmas greenery. Now, for the garland, if you can't find that garland that I just had in my hand, you could get these evergreen, I guess they're like pipe cleaners, and you could create a garland out of that. You could just twist a couple of pieces together, and that would make a nice garland for the gingerbread. See, it looks just like that. And those are in the Christmas department. Yeah, at Hobby Lobby. I feel like that's all I do is say Hobby Lobby. But, that store really is the bomb. So, yeah. And whatever I can't find at Hobby Lobby, I do search for on Amazon. Amazon is a great place for crafting items. Okay, so let's get busy. Now, for the paints, I'm using this color here. It's called Cedar Bark. It's in the Crafters Collection acrylic paints at Hobby Lobby. And I love that line of paints. I believe it's exclusive to Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to use 3 other color paints as well. I'm going to use white, black, and red. Now this here actually is Waverly Snow White chalk paint, and I am at the bottom of the jar, and I had to scrape, oh my goodness, and it was thick. I had to work really hard to get enough to spread on the edges, the sides, and the back of my piece. All right, now I cut out a strip of fabric 3.5 inches wide. This is for the skirt, and 17 inches long. You could do a screenshot of that if you like, but I'll put all the measurements, everything that I give you as far as measurements, I'll list that in the description box. Now I'm going to take my iron, and I am going to iron a little fold on each side, the entire length of my 17-inch long piece, about 1/8 of an inch thick. One of those edges I'm going to be gathering the skirt with a needle and thread. The other one I'm going to create a little hem, and I'm just going to close that hem with a little bit of tacky glue. I'll show you that here in a bit. Now I created this piece to fit the bodice. It's 3 inches wide and 2.5 inches long. Now notice it flares out just ever so slightly. That is so that I can accommodate the bodice to the shape of that gingerbread. Now for the top and the bottom of that piece, again, I took my iron, I folded under a really small, I want to say it's 1/8 of an inch, maybe less. And the top side is to fold that under. That's going to be the top of the bodice of the gingerbread's dress. Now I'm doing the sides, and I can't urge you enough to use your iron. If you have a mini Cricut heat press, you could use that. But this really helps you in your crafting. If you iron those pieces first, if you iron down your folds, this really helps when you go to glue everything on or together, which you'll see here in just a bit. That's what we're going to be doing. Now, if you have to make any alterations, if you will, after all, this is clothing for a gingerbread. Just make your adjustments accordingly so that it fits on there nicely. Now, I gave you the general measurements of that piece. So again, it was 3 inches across the top and 2.5 inches long. Okay, now we're back to our skirt again. Now for that bottom fold that we created there, this is going to be the hem, and I am going to put a little bit of tacky glue and just glue that down. Now you notice I'm using a paintbrush. Well, you don't really have to do that. I just happen to be at the bottom of my tacky glue, Aleene's tacky glue. So I couldn't get it to come out. I had to dump some out on a plate. I'm really glue challenged lately. If you saw my last video, I told you about how I somehow mixed in Surebonder glue sticks with my Gorilla Glue sticks, and now I'm just doing nothing but pulling strings because Surebonder is very stringy. I just showed you the scrapbook paper that I'm using, and you could see it peeking up there. I used the scrolling lined line scrapbook paper, and oh boy, is that cute. All right, we're going to gather the top of the skirt. Now, if you watched my last video where I did the little tutus for the gingerbread girls ornaments or garland, we're doing the same exact thing. You're going to thread a needle, and you want to have about, I want to say 12 to 14 inch long thread, just so you have plenty to work with. You're going to tie a couple of knots in the bottom of the thread or the end of the thread. This keeps the material from just falling off when you pull your thread. It keeps that secure there so you can start gathering in plain words. Now I'm going to take my needle and just weave in and out and in and out of the fabric right where I folded over, I ironed over. See why that's a very helpful thing to do? Because now it's pressed down very, very well. And I am just creating my gather on that folded fabric. Now I want to say I did about maybe 5 stitches, and then I would stop and pull my fabric and gather it onto the thread. Just like that. See, that's how you gather it. Now, maybe you know that or you don't know that, but if you're not a sewer, perhaps you don't know that. So like I said, I'm including all of the details. Forward over, whatever you don't need to learn. So I'm going to continue all the way down that fabric, taking my time now because you don't want to get a knot because you're pulling your thread too quickly. So take your time, do about 4 to 5 stitches, stop like right, I just did right there. And then watch, I'm just going to gather my fabric right on my thread. Now that 17-inch long piece is going to give you just the right amount to gather around the front of your gingerbread. And then you're just going to kind of just a little bit wrap it around to the back. So you want to cover the sides of the gingerbread as well as the front. Now, when you have come all the way through and gathered everything up, test it, put your little skirt on there, make sure that you can wrap it around the sides and tack it onto the back. Now, you're not going to see the back of this gingerbread, so I'm not worried that it's going to fit all the way around and meet in the center in the back. I just need enough to wrap it around the front and a little bit around the sides and tack it onto the back. Now, when you're sure that you have enough of a skirt to wrap around, just put a couple of finishing stitches and that will hold all of your gathers. And now we have a very cute little polka dotted skirt. Now, there are a lot of details in this gingerbread girl, but let me tell you, if you didn't catch all of them when you saw the intro video, you're going to see them now. This gingerbread is loaded with detail and she is adorable. I'm just making sure here that everything fits just right. Now, that skirt is going to go a little bit over the bottom of the bodice, which I'll show you that here in just a bit. The bodice is the top of the dress, in case you didn't know that. Okay, so now, unfortunately, the scrapbook papers only come in 12-inch square pieces. So I am going to have to piece my scrapbook paper. I love crafting, but this is not one of my favorite things to do. Now I have a round shape sign. So I am going to have to round off the corners that I did by placing my scrapbook paper in there. Now I take my fingers and I press it up right against the border of that sign and I create a crease. And then I pull the scrapbook paper out and I don't cut it right on the crease. I cut it a little bit extra, maybe about 1/8 of an inch. That way, if you didn't get quite a perfect crease, you're not going to be short the scrapbook paper because we're already short because that 12-inch piece is not going to fit. So I don't want to create any more problems. So allow a little bit of extra. Don't cut right on the crease line, but a little bit outside of it. You can always trim off the excess. Now you can see that really cute paper. You don't see too much, but it does have little red polka dots in it. I love this scrapbook paper. And like I said, I could have chosen any in that packet. I would highly suggest going on Amazon and getting that packet of paper. Now, they do have different ones to choose from. So you choose the one that you like the best. Just be sure you get the 12 by 12. Now, yes, we have a lot of pattern. I have to go about trying to match up pieces for the top, the bottom, and the sides. So what I do is I just place my big piece over the another piece of that scrapbook paper, figuring about how wide of a piece I need, and I just try and start matching up that pattern. This does take a little bit of patience, but it does have a very distinct pattern, so it's very doable, just kind of a pain in the neck. But again, worth it. That scrapbook paper on the background of this sign, I just, so important. Such a great addition to this sign. So just when you feel that you've got it, you can see I'm really playing around here with it. One thing that I did that helped me a little bit was I took a piece of masking tape because it doesn't have a great amount of stick on it. So I wasn't worried about having a tape that was, I couldn't pull off if I needed to. But I took a little piece of masking tape. Once I had that pattern established onto the other piece, and I just stuck it behind. See how I did that? And that helped to keep all of my 4 extra pieces all collected into one piece. Now later I'm going to be, of course, adhering that to the sign, which I guess I'm doing it right now. And listen, you can use as glue stick if you like. I'm kind of a Mod Podge girl, but, just out of habit. But either or, you have to put something on there. So it takes about the same amount of time if you ask me. And I love the adhesion that Mod Podge provides. So I just squirted a bunch on there. I took my sponge applicator and I covered the entire surface with my scrapbook paper. Now, I wasn't perfect in my calculations how to cut out this paper. Oh, it was kind of a headache. You'll see there at the bottom, I didn't quite get it right, and I have a little bit of the bottom showing. But I'm not worried about that because that's going to be the bottom. I'm going to make sure that I keep that for the bottom because there's going to be that Christmas greenery at the bottom. I also am going to show you that, let me stop here and say, I like to use a piece of plastic wrap or saran wrap and ball it up and go over my piece when I use Mod Podge. This really helps to smooth out the paper. And just be sure there's no bubbles. Okay, back to the sign. Now, I have this red cord. It's that satiny cord that I'm so crazy about. Now, hopefully they've already stocked it in the ribbon aisle. I don't know when Hobby Lobby's Christmas stuff goes on sale. Really not sure about that. But, you could also get it at 40% off in the regular fabric department. So what I'm going to be doing here, I am doing a lot of, did I say it before? I'll say it again, detailing. I can't say enough about detailing. I just think it makes all the difference. And I am going to take that cord and I'm going to put it right in that crease. Now, this is going to help to hide any little imperfections when you piece your scrapbook paper. It also adds color. And it looks really pretty in there. You can't see it that well right there, but everything comes together to really contribute to this very, very adorable gingerbread sign. So all these little touches matter. Okay, speaking of touches, I'm going to put a little flowering lace around the bottom of my gingerbread's skirt. Now I'm going to turn over my skirt, so you see the wrong side of the fabric there. I'm going to take my glue gun, I believe, yes, and I use a very tiny little stream of glue. I kind of just drag the tip of my glue gun across the fabric because I don't want it to come out in a blob, so I'm really, really careful that I don't do that. And about every inch, I stop, put a little bit of glue, and tack down my lace. Now, this happens to be a little flower lace, so I'm going to make sure that I can always see my flowers, and I'm keeping that, look how pretty, oh my. Make sure that I'm keeping that lace straight on the bottom of the skirt. All right, if you follow my channel for any amount of time, you know I always show you how to do eyes. And I'm going to show you. You could do 2 ovals, kind of tilted, and put the eyeballs in. This is the one I did. I draw 2 straight lines down the middle. I attach a teardrop shape, right? Just like that. I add in my eyeballs and my eyelashes. You see how it's just a teardrop? But I put those 2 lines down the center first, and that helps me. That third one is same as the second one, only I created the eyelids. Now, if you want to go with your own design for face, or if you want to look for others, just Google it, or go on Pinterest and type in a search for gingerbread faces, and you'll get all kinds of ideas. But that one in the middle, that's the one I did. Super simple. 2 lines down the center of the face, attach a teardrop to each side, draw in the eyeball, and add eyelashes. It's that easy. Okay, so I drew in my face. I made my nose a heart. I gave my gingerbread a little bit of a curl, a little bit of a squiggle mouth, I guess you could say. She's going to have rosy cheeks, of course, little eyebrows, and big expressive eyes. I also drew in the little squiggle lines around the head, the top of the head, and around the arms and the legs. I'm going to use an acrylic for this and a very fine point paintbrush. Now, I get my paintbrushes when they're on sale at Hobby Lobby. This fine point paintbrush, I can't stress enough how important it is to have a really good brush that you don't have to fight, to get like a nice solid line. Because a paintbrush that is inadequate is very frustrating. So it's really worth the few extra dollars to get a really, really good brush. Now you can see I am painting on my squiggle lines. Now I do 2 coats after I do all of my lines. Then I go back over it again with another coat. Now on this gingerbread, I do this sometimes with my gingerbreads. I didn't with my garland, but I'm going to do it on this one. I put little teeny tiny little dots, 3 of them in each curve of the squiggle line, if that makes sense. You see what I did there? 3 little dots on each side of the line wherever there's a little curve. You see that? And I go around, I do the arms, the legs, and the head. And this is a very nice little touch. It adds a little something to the gingerbread. Okay, so it's time now to do the eyes. And I use my fine tip paintbrush to do the mouth, some little eyebrows, and of course, some eyelashes. So you're going to want to take your time doing this part. Now, what happens if you make a mistake? Maybe one eye is a little bit bigger than the other, or your eyelashes didn't turn out exactly like you would like for them to. I make mistakes all the time. Doesn't matter how long you're crafting, mistakes will occur. So when I do, I make sure my paintbrushes are all nice and washed out and clean. And I go back and I take my original color, which in this case, it's the cedar bark, which is the color that I use for the gingerbread. And just repair your mistake. It's very easy to do. No worries. I mean, it's there's usually a resolve for little crafting area and errors. So I really take my time on this part, painting the eyeball. Now I'm going to paint the white of the eye, see right there? And then I put the tiny little dot in the black eyeball. Now for the nose, I'm going to use that red color. It's actually just called Red, and it's the Crafters Collection brand at Hobby Lobby. I love those paints. They're very smooth and the colors are very rich. So I tend to always go for those. Now I'm painting in the nose, and it's actually a little heart. Now later on, I'm not sure if I showed it, but on the top of the nose, where the curve of the heart is, I just put a little subtle white swoosh across. I'm also going to use that color to create the pink cheeks. And it looks like I'm getting ready to do that right now. So I use a bristly brush, one that's got like a short, the short bristles and stiff bristles. So I dip my paint in my red, I dip my brush in my red paint, and then I brush it off on a paper towel till I have barely any left on my paintbrush. Then in a circular motion, I create pink cheeks. Another thing that I like to do, and you saw this in my last video, I like to take the tiniest dot of white and put 3 freckles toward the top of my cheeks on my gingerbreads. Very, very subtle, tiny little white freckles. Oh, look at that face. It's so, so cute. Okay. Oh, yeah, that turned out really cute. You like the face? I showed you how to do it. Screenshot those eyes if that helps you, and then you could practice a little bit on a piece of paper if you're not accustomed to doing eyes. All right, so now I have my bodice for my dress. I'm going to start dressing my gingerbread now. Now remember, I have the sides ironed in that little fold underneath, and then the top as well. The bottom of the bodice, I didn't bother with that. That's going to be covered up with the skirt. So again, I'm going to take my paintbrush. Listen, you could just use the nozzle on your glue. You don't have to do it like I am. However, it is kind of nice because you really get like just the amount of glue that you need, and you don't have any squirt mistakes that can happen with a bottle of glue. So yeah, but that's, you don't have to do it that way. All right, now I'm figuring out the straps on my dress. So that red rickrack, yeah, no, that didn't work. But this little tiny white rickrack, yes, that's going to be the straps on the dress. So I'm going to lift up the corner of my bodice, the top of my dress, and I'm going to create a line of glue with my paintbrush. And I'm going to place the straps on. Tuck it underneath the corner there, wrap it around. And I'm just going to tack it down to the back and snip it off. And then I'm going to do the other side. Now there's going to be a lot more detail on this dress, as you're going to see. This probably was perhaps the most timely part of the project. Now we're going to put that rickrack right there, wrap it around the shoulder, press it down, and tack it in the back. Now I'm going to use this very cute little narrow rickrack. Just love this rickrack. I use it so often. I'm going to put 2 rows of the rickrack across the bodice of the dress. Now we are really adding a lot of detail to this dress. Just a little extra glue to tack down those straps of the dress. And now again, I'm going to put a row of tacky glue right across the bodice. And I'm going to put 2 rows of rickrack. I thought that would look nice. And then in a short period of time here, you're going to see that I also put 2 of my little tiny buttons right at the corners of the bodice where that rickrack or the straps meet. And that's a very cute little touch as well. So I'm just placing my rickrack there, making sure that I have it nice and straight. And I'm going to snip off the excess there. Now, I took out my heart-shaped buttons because I knew I was going to use it somewhere, and I figured out where, but they were a little bit too big to use to mark the area of the straps. So I ended up using tiny buttons for that, but I did use one of my wood buttons, which happens to match that gingerbread very nicely. And I'm going to put it in the middle of my bow that I'm going to create for the top of the skirt of the dress. So I found a way to work in one of those heart-shaped wood buttons, which I think are so cute for anything gingerbread. So if I'm making you crazy with all the detail, like I said, feel free. That's the beauty of YouTube, is you could forward over any areas or speed it up. And that's row number 2 for the top of the bodice of the dress. Okay. And here comes those little buttons. And I'm going to use a red one with white polka dots, one on each corner. Now, if you can't see that, you know that you can zoom in on the video. I don't know if you know that, but just FYI. Anything you want to see up closer, you can zoom in. Okay, so I'm going to attach those buttons with a little bit of glue. I think I used hot glue. Nope, I didn't. I used tacky. Doesn't matter. Just don't make a glue mess on that beautiful dress we're making here. Okay, you can see it all coming together now. Okay, now it's time to put the skirt on the dress. Now I'm going to attach that skirt of that dress on straight across, just underneath or at the bottom of the arms there. Now, yeah, I went a little crazy with this. But I kept looking at this dress and I thought, how cute would it be to have a little tulle skirt underneath of the dress? It would kind of look like it was a part of the dress. Yeah, I did. So I decided to create that. So I got out a spool of white tulle. It's 6 inches wide, that tulle. All the tulle comes 6 inches wide. And I cut a piece of tulle 18 inches long. I cut 3 pieces. I stacked them on top of each other. And I gathered the tulle up super quick with a needle and thread. Doesn't have to be beautiful because it's going to be hidden under the dress. Now I'm trimming away the excess. And I have to tell you that I was so glad that I did this part. If you look at the sign carefully, you can, I think in the intro, if you could see the effect of the tulle, but it looks so cute underneath the dress. So I did this part before I glued on, obviously, the polka dot skirt of the dress. Now first, I'm just going to go ahead and glue that on, and any trimming that I have to do is fine. But you gather the little tulle skirt just like you did the red polka dot skirt. But doesn't take much time at all. Doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. And you don't have to have a hem on it because it's tulle. So now I'm just going about trimming that up because I don't want it to be longer than the skirt. I want it to just kind of be about the same length. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. Wrap it around the sides. And that's going to be the little tulle underskirt of the skirt of the dress. Now, this piece has obviously, and I've said it like 20 times, a lot of detail. But I'm doing this for a very special Christmas tree that I'm going to be doing for the Quantum House. And if you follow my channel, you already know this, but I donate a lot of my pieces that I do on my channel to this amazing facility that houses families with a child in the family that's being treated for a serious medical condition. It's like a Ronald McDonald House. And I am going to be doing a gingerbread theme Christmas tree. And it is going to be over the top gorgeous. I have it all pictured in my creative brain. And this is going to go on the front of the tree. Now, I love to put a sign on the front of the Christmas tree. In the center, about maybe 3 feet from the top. And this is going to be the focal point of the tree. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a little clip of a Grinch tree that I did. And I filmed it last year at Christmas time. And I'm going to show you what I mean about, there's the tulle skirt. So cute. See how it makes the little dress, the little skirt stand up? But I'm going to show you at the end of the video, if you're curious what a sign actually looks like. I mean, maybe you never thought of putting a sign on a Christmas tree because it's a little bit of a bigger piece. But let me tell you, it is phenomenal. It has a phenomenal effect on a tree. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Now, of course, I'm going to take you on this journey with me as I create this gingerbread theme Christmas tree, and I will show you, of course, what it looks like all put together. But it's going to be probably maybe 8-9 foot tall Christmas tree. So it's going to be loaded with gingerbread decor. And this piece is going to be so cute on that tree. So you can see why I'm spending a lot of time. But in truth, I probably would do this anyway, even if I weren't doing that, because, I just love details. I have a lot of patience, as you could probably imagine, but to me, there's just nothing more satisfying than really taking the time and the effort, the diligence, the perseverance, the thought that goes into it, the hunt for the materials. I love it all. So, yeah, this is going to be really phenomenal. And you will be seeing the end result of my gingerbread theme Christmas tree. Okay, so while I was talking away there, I took a piece of ribbon, the same ribbon that I'm going to create a bow out of. That same ribbon is from Hobby Lobby. It's polka dot on one side, striped on the other. One of my very favorite ribbons in the ribbon department and the Christmas department at Hobby Lobby. So to cover up all of that gathering, and again, details, you cover that up and it gives it such a finished look. Now I'm going to create a bow for the top of the skirt of the dress. Now I showed you this in the last video. I took a piece of ribbon. I want to say it was 7 inches long. I found the center point. I folded over the loops and overlapped them just a little bit. Yeah, it was 7 inches. See the stripes on the back of that ribbon? It's so great. Maybe it was 9 inches. I think it was 9 inches. There's the center point. And then see how I just fold over my loops and overlap it just a little bit. Maybe like 1/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch in the center. I think I decided on 7 inches. I think I just cut a little bit off. You do you, however big you want your bow. So it's overlapped in the center. So what I'm going to do now is take a piece of craft wire, a 26 gauge craft wire. You can sometimes find that at Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to wrap that wire right around the center, right over the area that's overlapped. Pull it super tight, and that's going to gather it up in the middle. And I'm going to have a very cute bow to place at the top of the skirt of the dress of my gingerbread. Now I pull it super tight right here. And when I do that, it gathers up that bow and it looks pretty in the center. Now that's where I'm going to place my wood heart button. Right in the middle of that bow, and it's going to look really, really cute on that gingerbread. Cut off the excess wire, And then I'm just going to glue that to the top of the skirt. Not in the center, but off to the side. You can put it on whatever side that you like. First, I'm going to go ahead and glue that button on there. I tilted my bow just a tiny little bit. Making sure you don't see that wire once I put it on the skirt. I think I might have glued that on first and then put the button on. Doesn't matter, either or, do whatever you like. Yep, I glued it. See how I tilted the bow a little bit? And a dab of hot glue, and I'm going to put that button on there. Now I'm also going to make a bow for the top of the head, just like I made that bow for the top of the skirt. She's going to have a very cute little bow for the top of her head. Now I do fluff up that tulle a little bit to kind of fill in the areas where the skirt kind of ripples there. Yeah, glue strings. Oh, those Bonder glue sticks. I can't wait till they're gone. Oh my goodness. Yeah, they're in my bag of glue sticks, and I should never have popped them in there because now I can't tell them apart. And every time I reach in to get a glue stick, I think, oh, I hope it's not a Bonder glue stick. Okay, again, same type of bow. Now I'm making this for the top of the head and I'm going to put this a little bit off to one side on the top of the head. Same procedure, using the wire, and I put a white small button in the middle of this bow. Now later on, I'm going to point it out to you, but I wanted just a little bit of tails on that bow. So I ended up cutting a couple of little pieces of that ribbon and hot gluing a couple of little tails onto there. I think I'll show you that later, but if not, yeah, I thought it needed some tails, but not tails that would cover up the squiggle lines, but you'll see later on. Now that bow is just going to be perched right up on top of the head of the gingerbread. There's the button that's going to go in the middle. Those wood buttons were too big to put in there, so I had to put a little white one in there just for something different. Really picks up the white rickrack and the white polka dots. And that's how I'm going to place it right on top. You'll see that bow is basically sitting flat on the top of her head. And the button is facing forward and the loops are facing forward. Rather than putting the bow sitting flat on top of the head with the loops pointing upward, I had them pointing forward. I think that's a much cuter look. But what really made it cute was when I added those little tails. I felt it was missing something. I kept looking at it, and then I finally decided that's what it was. Just to finish off that bow, and you'll see I do that later. And just to get the bow to sit exactly the way I wanted it, I used my hot glue to make sure I had it just perfectly in place. Okay, now you tell me, is she not cute or what? Oh my goodness. I just love dressing up these gingerbreads. Kind of reminds me of when I was a little girl and my mother used to get that magazine. I think it was McCall's magazine. And they had paper dolls in there. Every month they had a section, and you cut out the paper dolls with scissors, and you cut out the clothes, and you would dress the paper dolls. It's funny, but that's what it reminds me of. Okay, back to reality here. For the garland, now I wanted to make mine look kind of like a little Christmas banner. So I cut out a diamond-shaped piece of scrapbook paper, one that my letters would sit on very nicely. And after I cut out the diamond, I folded it in half, and then I had the shape that I wanted for to attach to my garland. Now I had to make sure that I had the right size of that piece so that my letter would fit on there nicely. So it was kind of trial and error. Whatever letters that you use, just be sure when you cut out your piece for your garland that your letter will sit on there nicely. Now, for my garland, I showed you that roll of the greenery. And what's great about it is it has a wire in it. And I wanted my garland to kind of swoop down in the front, if you will. And that's how I'm going to attach the top of my little triangular piece there with a little bit of hot glue. And I'm just going to attach it right to that greenery garland. Now, I chose for my word, I chose joy. That's my favorite word, and I love it for Christmas. You could do merry as well. That would have been another good choice, but I chose joy, and I used my stick-on letters, and I placed them on the three little flags, if you will, of the garland. And then across the top of those little triangular pieces, I'm just going to attach that with the O in the center so that I have everything centered. And I did glue that triangular piece shut. Once I folded it over, I did glue those two pieces together. So now I'm going to attach all of my my letters. And this is going to be the garland that my gingerbread is going to be holding in front of her. And I'm going to attach it to the, I guess you call them hands, of the gingerbread. Now, what's cute about this is that you can adjust it, the wires, so that it kind of stands a little bit out from the body. And then I can adjust it in the area of the hands to make it look just perfect. Now, I let some of the ends of my garland kind of hang down a little bit, as you can see there. And then I'm also going to attach, of course, that's coming, 2 little gingerbread narrow ribbon bows that is going to be at each end of my garland. Now, the leaves on my little garland there, I did use those to my advantage, and I kind of placed them so that they kind of decorated each of those triangles. You see how the leaves are kind of decorating the letters a little bit? And now I'm picking off the glue strings, of course. Okay, now I'm just shaping my garland so that I get it exactly right. And then I'm going to glue it to the hands of my gingerbread. Now, if you prefer not to have a garland, that's fine too. Maybe you want to put something else in the hand of the gingerbread, or you could just leave it plain. But I wanted, being that this sign is going to go on the front of the tree, I wanted something that had some kind of like message. So that's why I chose joy. Okay, now you can see what my gingerbread looks like sitting on the scrapbook paper. Now, oh boy, yeah, really, really cute. Okay, so I made a couple of bows, very small bows, for each end of my garland. I just did a figure 8 bow. I just fold my ribbon over, fold it back over itself the other way, crisscross it, and then I'm just going to take a little piece of wire and put it right down the center of that bow. And I put a red little button in the center with white polka dots. This gingerbread ribbon, it's a narrow ribbon. I got that at Michael's last year. Now, I'm not sure if Hobby Lobby has a narrow gingerbread ribbon. You might want to take a look and see. But you could use a plain ribbon as well, or maybe a polka dot ribbon. And I'm just going to hot glue that to each end of the garland. I do leave a bit of the garland poking out from the end from where I place the bow. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, this gingerbread is going to be elevated off of the piece, and I'm going to be using a few of those little wood blocks, and this adds a nice touch to the piece. It elevates the gingerbread off of the board, and it allows me room to place my greenery and place it up underneath the gingerbread when I go to decorate the bottom. Okay, now this is a part where you're probably going to say, okay, yeah, she's really lost it. Now what is she doing? Okay, I just felt that the garland needed something. I felt that the banner needed something. So I'm taking a little tiny bit of my tiny rickrack, and I'm going to outline those triangular pieces of my banner with the rickrack. And I'm going to attach it on the back side so that just the little scallops of the rickrack are peeking out around each of those, the letters of that garland. Yeah, doesn't take that long, honestly. It was a really, really cute touch, and it really made that garland stand out. You'll see what I mean here in just a bit. I think I used hot glue for that. So I just go on the back side and I glue it down. Very easy to do. You see what that did? Little things make a difference. I'll show you here on the front here in just a second. And you'll see that it really did make a difference on that piece, and it really made that garland pop. See how cute that is? And then I proceeded to go and do the other 2 letters. And there it is, all done. Now my garland is all ready to go. And I'm going to put those 2 little buttons that I suggested that I put on there before, right in the center of that bow to dress that up a little bit. And then I'll place it on each end of the garland. Now, of course, this piece has to have bow, has to have actually 2 bows. I'm going to be creating a mixed ribbon small bow, one for each side of the bottom of the gingerbread. I'm going to be placing it at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And it's going to be so cute. Okay, I'm making sure that my little imperfection there is at the bottom. And I am going to take my red rickrack. Now, let me tell you, this really was a great touch on this piece. But I felt that the sides were a little bit boring. And so I decided to take my red rickrack. Now, this is a bigger rickrack than the white. This is a bit wider. So I started at the bottom where my little imperfection is. And so I would have the seam there on the bottom of the sign. And I'm going to go about every inch or 2. And I'm going to adhere that rickrack all the way around. Yes, is that a great touch or what? Yeah, it looks really awesome. Okay, now do you see where I didn't show how I did it, but I just cut a couple pieces of ribbon. You see how I put the tails on the bow? I'm much happier with that now. Okay, so for my little blocks, you could use, as I mentioned before, you could use Jenga blocks, or you could use some small wood beads. Doesn't matter. Just something to elevate the gingerbread off of the wood round. So I'm just going to use some hot glue. And that's my glue pouch. And in my dog. Oh, my goodness. Sorry about that. My dog decided to become a watchdog for a change. She usually doesn't say anything. Okay, so I'm putting my little wood cubes on the back. And I'm determined. Oh, yeah, real life. Oh my gosh, she's not going to shut up. Okay, so I'm deciding where I'm going to place exactly my gingerbread on. I can't take it. This is so cute. I did take a ruler just to be sure I had it exactly in the middle. And I have that space there at the bottom. Now, I probably have her a little bit higher on the wood round because of that greenery that I'm going to put on the bottom. Okay, so I took my Aleene's Tacky, put it on my blocks. Now I want to be sure I have it nice and straight on there. And I got all those squiggle lines to help me make sure it's straight. The reason why I used Tacky was because Tacky gives you an opportunity to move something around if you don't get it quite right when you place it down. Okay, so this is the way I'm going to be decorating the bottom of my piece. Now, the idea is to make it look like she's standing in Christmas greenery. Yeah, that was my thought. So I'm using my bigger pieces of the greenery, and I'm just hot gluing them in. I place them first to kind of decide where I want them. Now, I have like 3 different types of greenery. So I'm really going to be filling this in. And the more types of greenery that you use, of course, the more visual interest and the more detailed it is. So I'm just going to be hot gluing all of that down. And as of yet, I still do not have my garland on there, but you'll see that it will be going on there. So that's the way I'm going to place my greenery. And notice how I have my greenery kind of peeking out from the edges of my perimeter of my wood round. I like the look of that. Now, if your greenery is too big in any place, of course, just take your wire cutters and snip off whatever you need to at the base of that stem. And just fill that in with greenery. It's going to look very cute. Now, if you wanted to, you could put some tiny holly berries on here as well. I decided after putting the 2 bows on that I thought that was a bit much, and I didn't think it was needed. And that's another type of greenery. I'm just going to be arranging that and filling that in with this pretty greenery from this pick from Hobby Lobby. Of course, you can get your picks anywhere you like. And now you could see the benefit of having that gingerbread up off of the wood because it gives you this perfect place to stick your greenery. Yeah, that worked out really well. Now, as I mentioned, there's going to be 2 small bows on there, actually mixed ribbon bows. One is going to be my gingerbread 1.5 inch RG ribbon from craftoutlet.com. The other one is a red ribbon with white polka dots, and that's going to be the second layer of my bow. So, yeah, that's just really going to just finish off the look of this piece and really add, so much to the piece. And I meant to mention before, another option for the garland would be pit berries, like a wired strand of pit berries. If you could twist a couple of pit berry stems around itself, just kind of twist it and create a little bit of a thicker garland. You could use pit berries as well, and that would be cute too, if you wanted to do the garland. Yeah, it's an extra step, but I think one really worth taking the time to do. And all my greenery is in now, and oh my goodness, it's all coming together, and I am just in love with this piece. One of my favorite pieces I've ever done. That's saying a lot because I have been crafting for a long time, but I just love it. Okay, finally, I'm going to attach that garland. I'm going to use a dab of hot glue right there. I guess that's gingerbread hand, you might want to say. And I pressed my fingers into the garland on each end because I wanted that garland to stand up a little bit and not necessarily lay right down on the dress. And it indeed does that the way I did it. Now I'm going to add those little gingerbread ribbon bows on the end. Hot glue those. I do trim up those tails a little bit. And then you're going to see me make one of the bows. I'm not going to torture you, making you watch me do both. But I am going to say that if you would like to learn to make bows, I have multiple bow tutorials in my playlist. I actually did one, I want to say like a month ago, so it's pretty recent. But I have a unique style of creating bows. And if you would like to learn how I do that, you can check out my playlist and find those bow tutorials. Now I'm fluffing up my tulle underneath my dress. Now you can see why I chose to place that tulle under there. It's just super, super cute. Now I thought about holly berries, and then I said, no, I decided only to do the two bows at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock, like I said, and I'm going to show you how I created those bows here shortly. And here we go. Now you can see that I filled in with quite a bit of greenery there. Okay, so here's my 1.5-inch ribbon, and there's that polka dot. That's a Christmas ribbon that I picked up on clearance at Joann Fabrics. I think I bought like 5 rolls of that ribbon because I am just love polka dots. Okay, so I'm going to create a 4-loop bow, and this little gingerbread ribbon, so cute, such a pretty little ribbon. I'm going to leave about a 6-inch tail, and I'm just going to fold over my loops, and I want to say my loops are only about maybe 6 inches in length. I'm going to fold over my ribbon, pinch it in the center, twist my ribbon so that I always have the correct side of the ribbon facing up, and I'm going to create a 4-loop bow. Now you can see this is how I create my bows. I've been doing this method for many, 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 many years, and I think it is just a beautiful way to create a bow. So I leave my 6-inch tail, trim it off from the spool. I take a half of a pipe cleaner, wrap it around the center, twist it in the back. Now I will be snipping off those pipe cleaners later because I'm going to be hot gluing this bow right to the piece. I angle my tails, not much of a dovetailer unless I'm doing ribbon bundles on a wreath. That's the only time you'll really see me do a dovetail. Okay, now for my second layer of my bow, and this really, really, really takes it over the top, if you ask me, I'm going to create another 4-loop bow, but my loops are going to be a little bit smaller. So I want to say maybe 5 inches. And I'm going to create that with the 4 loops, as I mentioned, but I'm going to create one center loop going right down the middle because every bow should have something in the center. That's the way I feel about it. So I'm going to take a pipe cleaner, wrap it around the center, twist it in the back, and I'll show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to create one single loop going right down the center. Twist my ribbon, and I'm just going to roll that ribbon under and catch it with my thumb underneath, scrunch it up a bit, take my pipe cleaner from around the back, pop it through the center, pull it really tight in the back, twist, and now I have a super cute polka dot bow to go on top of my other gingerbread ribbon. I'm going to take my tail, pop it right through that center loop, angle my tails. Then I'm going to use my pipe cleaners that I still have on the back of that bow, and I'm going to place them at like 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock so that I can wrap it around my base bow. 12 and 6 right there. Now this is going to enable me to wrap it right around my bow and then poke the tail of my pipe cleaner right through the tails of my gingerbread ribbon, the tails of my bow. I'm going to wrap it around twice, twist it, position my loops a little bit, and then trim up my tails. And that is my very cute little bow that's going to go at 5 and 7 o'clock on my sign. I thought about putting them at the top, and I said, nope. Okay, there's my ribbon for my other bow. Everything's all put together. Now I'm going to trim off those pipe cleaners in the back so I can really press that bow right into my greenery. Now I'm not going to cover up the foot at all of my gingerbread. I'm putting a nice hefty blob of glue there. And right around 7 o'clock, I'm going to press that bow into the greenery, situating the loops of my bow. And then trimming up the tails. After I'm going to go ahead and put my other bow on now. Now, as you watch me do this, when I place this sign on a Christmas tree, if you have a desire to put a sign on a tree, and I highly recommend it, okay? You won't be disappointed. It's easy to keep the sign on. All you have to do is put something on the back of your sign. That something being full-size pipe cleaners. And then you could take those pipe cleaners and wrap them around the tree branch. Oh my goodness, it works like a charm. That sign won't be going anywhere. Okay, see, I'm trimming up my tails. I don't want them too long on the sign, angling them. The polka dot ribbon is a little bit shorter tails than the gingerbread. I like to do it like that, the layering effect. Now I'm going to show you how I attached my pipe cleaners in the back. Now I'm filling in the bottom center with more greenery just to completely finish off this piece. I saved some of my greenery to fill that in. I did take some little pieces of felt, and I used 2 full-size pipe cleaners, which I'm going to attach to the back and then place a piece of felt over it for double security. Then I also put a little loop at the top of the sign in the back with a pipe cleaner, because I could use that as well to hold my sign on the Christmas tree. You can also use that loop to hang it on the wall, or you could use those pipe cleaners that you place on the back like that to place it on a wreath. Now you'd have to do an 18-inch wreath frame to accommodate this big sign, but you see how I placed the felt pieces over? Now I'm ready to go. I am ready to place it on the Christmas tree, and oh my goodness, this is going to look so good. But I have to say it would also be adorable in a gingerbread themed kitchen. All right, here's my Grinch tree. Oh, do you love it? And there's the sign. Now this one was a big sign. This is a 14-inch, but that's a you can see my tree is so beautiful. Actually, it's at my son's house. But yeah, every year that I create this tree, I put that sign on. And is it not fabulous to see that sign? Look how it is such a great focal point. And that's my plan for my gingerbread sign. Yeah, I'm going to place it on my tree for the Quantum House. Okay, one last look. Tell me what you think of this sign. I know it was crazy detailed, but that's what it takes to get something this absolutely adorable. Tell me what you think of this. Okay, remember to subscribe if you are not. Give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends and neighbors and acquaintances and co-workers. Yeah, I'm trying to grow my channel, So all those things help me out. And until next time, you all take care.